Hi everyone, welcome to week 5, part 3 of data journalism. We're going to do some more data scraping in this section. So I'm going to ask you to open our week 5 schedule right here and scroll down to part 3. And before we get started on scraping, there is one thing that I want you to do before next week, and that's Google Flourish to set up a free account. We're going to use Google Flourish. It's very similar to Data Wrapper. It does some animations and some different things with it. So I want you to click on flourish.studio and set up a free account there and just pause this video. All right, welcome back. By now you've set up your free Google Flourish account for next week. So you're all squared away there. And now we're going to work with a data scraping exercise. It's in your week 5 folder. So I want you to open this up. Then I want you to open up the PDF to Excel tool. And then if you haven't downloaded Tabula.technology yet, it was part of your homework to do so. It's on the computers up at school, but we want you to install it on your laptop. Hit pause, open this document, open this website, and then go to Tabula.technology and download the software either for the Mac or Windows, depending on what machine you're on. It's safe software. It's used to scrape PDFs off of a desktop. So go ahead and hit pause and do those 3 things right now. All right, welcome back, everybody. By now, you should have opened this document up that has the data scraping exercise in it, or exercises, I should say. Excuse me. And also the PDF to Excel tool, which is a browser-based tool that will upload a PDF, either scanned or regular, scrape the data out of it so you can download it then as a spreadsheet. Many times PDFs, government documents will be sent to you as PDFs, and they are just the scourge of society because they, just absolutely cannot serve any purpose. Unless you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, where you can download the data set or convert it right out of a PDF into an Excel document or Word document. The PDF is pretty much useless itself. But once you get it in spreadsheet form, as we've seen through our sorting and filtering, we can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. It does come as a $5 premium version where you can do batch processing and upload many different files to it. But here you can just do a basic PDF one at a time. You can upload it from Dropbox or Google Drive as well. We're going to go into your Google Drive folder. And you're going to find in there a few PDFs that you can download. So go into week 5, and you'll have a couple of PDFs in here under PDFs to scrape. You can download Nevada voter registration data, and why not do the Clinton Foundation too? So highlight these and download them. You can just highlight them and go over here and download. And same with the Clinton Foundation. That's a Form 990 from the Clinton Foundation. There's some good stuff in there. And then as long as you've got Tabula running on your computer, go ahead and find it in your applications folder and open it. I've got mine on my little toolbar over here on the left. It'll open in your browser and it'll be up and running and be ready to go to scrape those nasty PDFs. What's cool about this is it operates off your desktop, but works in the browser. So it's not on the live web. You might notice there's a little IP address here. It's your desktop computer. Okay, so let's go back to our data scraping handout. Now, I know I'm kind of skipping around, but I'm kind of setting you up here to just kind of mow through all these documents. We're going to practice again with our data scraping formula. You guys remember this from scraping in week 3. When we pulled the Bridges database, =, import HTML from a URL. We're going to pull it in a table and table 0. Okay, so what I want you to do is skip down steps 2 and 3 to kind of show you how to fill out the form. I just want you to copy this formula under step 4. We're going to write our own here in a minute. And it's telling me to import HTML from this website, which is the FDIC's failed bank list. And I'm going to show you this one because this is an interesting one. It is 47 pages, web pages, of data of failed banks. Okay, so we can click on page 5, page 6, all the way back to page 47. There's actually 564 rows of this database, going from the Bank of Honolulu back in October of 2000 all the way up to 2020, which is the Alameda State Bank. Okay, we haven't had a failed bank in more than a year, which is kind of cool. But when one is added in here, it'll update here, and we'll also update on our spreadsheet because we're scraping this link right up here. They do have a download data button here, which is good for grabbing a one-time only data set. But we're going to continually scrape this page. So copy under step 4 the formula. Open up a Google Sheet, and you guys know how to do that. Sheets.new in your browser window. And we're going to call it FDIC failed banks. Always label them. And in cell A1, paste your formula in just like we did before. And if you were living right, you just scraped 564 rows of a government database in about 3 seconds. Again, do that slow scroll through this data set to make sure there's no garble or anything missing. Check your last row, Bank of Honolulu, which we'd already seen in our website is the last row. We're going to highlight it by clicking in the rectangle up here in the upper left. Copy it. We're going to open up a new sheet by hitting the plus sign in the lower left corner. And then, if you remember, the pasting process, it's on our handout. Go to Edit, Paste Special, Paste Values Only. Okay? And you might notice that our closing date changed on us. Oh, this happens sometimes. That's why I selected this data set. This is no good. Okay, so we need to get it back as a date, not some funky looking thing that looks like a zip code or something. So just click in column F. Go up to Format. Go under Number. And go back and select Date. It converts it back to a date. The reason it does that, if you look back at the original, it's got a mixture of letters and numbers, which, when you copy that over sometimes, it'll do this with phone numbers sometimes, zip codes, addresses, it gets kind of funky. It's one of those quirky little spreadsheet things. But you just go to select the column, go to Format, Number, and go back to the date format, and you're A-OK. Same if you had a time in it, it'd be date and time, or time only. It's got several others in here, numbers, currency, and so on. Okay, that's how you convert all those numbers. So now you've got it in working order. You can sort and filter this, and take a look at things. Let's do a quick filter on this, and we'll do a filter by state and see which states, had a lot of failed banks over the last 20 years. Little hint, you're living in one. So click here and into the little rectangle so you highlight the entire spreadsheet. Go to Data, little humor here at the wee hours of the morning. Create a filter. This is a little different than sorting range. Create a filter. And notice in our header here, it gives us little pull-down menus right next to each of our headers. This means we can filter out anything we don't want to see. Without deleting the data out of the data set, we can filter things out and take a quick look at something. I often do this when I first get a data set downloaded just to do a quick check on it, see what's available. Click on State, a little flyout next to it. And notice it has all the states checked down here. As I scroll through it, hit Clear. And I can type in Illinois, I-L, check it, and hit OK. And oh boy, were there a lot of failed banks in Illinois. And you might notice that a lot of them fell between 2008 and 2014. That's when the housing bubble burst. And remember, our economy came back a lot slower. Our housing market came back a lot slower. So instead of 4 years of the housing market bubble bursting, we had about 5 or 6 here. So those are the mass majority of our failed banks occurred during that time. We've only had a few since then, thank goodness. Okay, so if I want to get rid of that filter, I can just click on the little martini glass here, hit select all, and all my data comes back. I can go in again, hit clear, and this time I can look at New York, which you think would have a lot. It'll surprise you. It does not. Only a handful in New York State. Okay. Only 2 in New York City. Very surprising. Another way to get rid of all your filters is to go up to data and hit remove filter. Brings all your data back. You can also sort by acquiring institution. You can really interview this data. Which state had the most? Which state had the least? Which city had the most? Which city had the least? Acquiring institutions. Which ones came along and acquired the most banks. You could actually sort by this column and see that. Sort by dates. Which year had the most failed banks? 2008, 2009 had quite a few. 2010 as well. The fund and the certification column or data columns you typically won't need, but again, you can sort and filter this and really come up with some good analysis of this database. So I just wanted to review that real quickly with you, just so you get a good feel for scraping. Scroll down now on our handout. This is our data scraping handout. I give big props up here to Lena Grover from ProPublica. She's the one that taught me how to use this formula years ago. I also have a couple of more training videos up here on scraping that can be helpful to you. If there was a little glitch in the video, I had a little power issue there with my computer. But now we should be in our data scraping exercise. Scroll down to this section on page 3, exercise on your own. We've got a bunch of links here to different data sets. If you scroll down, you'll see the formulas that are blank down here that you can take and fill in. So I can grab this data set here. This is a table of data from the National Interagency Wildfire Center. And I can drop it in where it says URL. And then take this link, go to my spreadsheet, and scrape away. Okay, even if you get a loading error, it'll say that for a second, then the data should flow in. It does happen from time to time. Then you can go in and start cleaning up this data, and all of a sudden you've got a nice data set there. Now notice I went to edit that, and notice how it disappeared. That's because I haven't made a copy of this, okay? The reason I did that on purpose. Edit, okay, delete rows 1 and 2, but everything disappeared. The reason it does that is it's created that link from this spreadsheet, which I have not titled, back to this web page that I'm scraping, okay? So I have to make a copy of it before I can do any editing with it. So make a copy. Open up a new tab, it's easy enough. Edit, paste special, paste values only. Then I can go in and delete out my first 2 rows. And you can edit away and it won't mess anything up, okay? So what I want you to do now, you can just pause the video if you want, is to just get some practice with this. Go through and start scraping some of these pages. This is the Federal Highway Administration Bridges Inspection, so you probably don't have to worry about that one. But there's all kinds of other ones. Bank failures, we just did that one. Country by country COVID data from Our World in Data. Religious projection tables. There's all kinds of stuff in here from places all around the world that have great data sets. So go ahead and hit pause and take a few minutes to go through and do these exercises. All right, welcome back. By now you should be a data scraping ninja. Congratulations, you've probably scraped a bunch of these web pages just by taking one of these links, copying it, cutting it, pasting it in where it says URL. Be careful not to knock out the quote marks. Make sure when you copy it, get the equal sign to the close parentheses, and go in and just scrape away. So once you've done that and kind of mastered this art of scraping, I want you to scroll down on your page to where it says more scraping resources on our handout. I've given you Tabula, and we've also opened up the PDF to Excel scraper for PDFs. There's some others here: Scraper Wiki, Comment Docs, Online OCR. There's many scraping tools for PDFs out on the market. And then you have downloaded earlier a couple of PDFs, and I'm going to demo one of them right now. Hit the upload button here in pdf2excel.com. Go and find in your downloads folder the Nevada voter registration data, that PDF. Hit open. And it does take a minute or two for it to process. You can go premium and there's no waiting in the queue or anything, but it'll say it's converting up here. Sometimes it'll fail. If it does do that to you, or it won't, just keeps converting, go back and try it again later. But I got my free download right here. Hit download and go over to my downloads folder then. Open it up, and there it is, Nevada voter registration Excel spreadsheet. And I can move this into Google Sheets as well, but I'll just put it in Excel real quick and clean it up for you, show you how to do it. There's my raw scraped sheet. Down the lower right, you can increase the plus minus to make it cleaned up. County. I'll delete all these rows here. Delete all those rows. I'm going to delete all this mess down here. One thing about cleaning data, always look and see, I got my header row up here, but notice down here it gives me statewide totals. So each of these little counties in Nevada and all their flowing data underneath under each of the political, and I've also got totals over here. What you want to do is you want to insert a data moat, especially at the bottom. A data moat, M-O-T-E, or M-O-A-T, excuse me, a data moat. It's like a moat around a castle. A little moat of water that goes around the castle, protects it. You can create that moat here and insert rows so you don't get your totals mixed up. Remember I talked about that in week 3 a little bit when we were looking at the totals for the bridge inspections. So, if I was going to sort this, I would just go from here to here and click on it and highlight that area to sort and filter, or lock my header up here, okay? And, something to look at. You could also separate your, add a column here. You go to insert and add a column and push my totals over here. Then I would just sort here to here, here to here. I would probably want to keep these columns mixed in there, but you can separate them out if you just want to sort this area and just delete this out maybe. That can be another option. So anyway, just a quick thing on cleaning data. You always want to have these bottom totals separated out so they don't get mixed in with your list of county by county. I'll save this, and now I've got a nice clean spreadsheet. Okay. Importing tables in Tabula. Remember I showed you how to download tabula.technology. You open it up in your applications folder. It opens into your browser. This will also scrape PDFs. A lot of investigative reporters prefer Tabula because you're scraping off your desktop, not off the live web. Here I loaded my spreadsheet up to the live web. Somebody could hack this and see this. Now for a bunch of voter registration data, I don't really care. It's not real sensitive data. But if I'm dealing with a data set, maybe it's been leaked to me or I really need to keep under wraps, Tabula is a much better option. It's much more private because it's harder to hack into your desktop than it is some live spot on the web. Hit the browse button, and then I'll go in and find my voter registration PDF, hit open, and hit import. It'll import the data set, the PDF, and you have to do a couple steps to get it to convert it into a spreadsheet format. So it's loading kind of slow here, probably my internet connection, but it's coming in. There it goes. And if I want to select, this is how the raw PDF looks. It's still in PDF format. I can hold down with my cursor. It gives me little crosshairs here. I can hold down with my cursor and drag across the area I want to select. Or if maybe I had 30 pages and I wanted to select 15 tables, I can hit auto detect and it'll automatically select the tables for me. I hit the green preview button. It'll convert that PDF into an HTML table. And we know something about HTML tables. They're scrapable because we've just scraped a bunch of them. Hit this export button. It'll export it as a CSV file, comma separated values spreadsheet. Comma separated values spreadsheets typically are spreadsheets that you'll use for mapping. They have an address and everything's separated by a comma. It's a good way to kind of give you the basics of it. And I'll go in here into my downloads folder. There it is. Tabula spreadsheet. Same as what I scraped out with the other tool. But this one I've done much more privately, and there's the data. And again, because I've selected it, I can go through, hit edit, delete those two rows, add in my data moat always, insert rows. There you go. You have a nice clean data set. So that's how you do data scraping in Tabula, PDF to Excel converter, and with our scraping formula. So that's 3 ways you can extract data out of documents. So go back to our syllabus. You've done a lot this week. You've done a murder rate. You've played around with data wrapper, and your data wrapper assignments due Monday, February 14th at noon. If you were taking this class in any other semester than spring 2022, you will have a different set of deadlines on there, so do acknowledge that. Next week, we're going to get into Google Flourish. We're going to create graphics with Google Flourish. It's a little bit of a lighter week than what we've had here. This was a very heavy work week for you, as was week 4. So fantastic job, guys, and we will see you next week.